All right. Welcome back, students. This is your fourth set of videos that I'm going to upload to YouTube. And basically, this topic will cover supply, basics, fundamentals of supply, fundamentals of demand, and market mechanism. All right. If you see your notes there on supply and demand, you would see the topic of basics of supply and demand. All right. So the first one is supply and demand analysis. One of the best ways to appreciate relevance of economics is to begin with the basic of supply and demand. Supply and demand analysis is a fundamental and powerful tool that can be applied to a wide variety of interest and important problems. So we are looking at supply and demand as important dynamics in terms of microeconomics. All right, some of these important dynamics that sort of comes about when there's interaction of supply and demand is factors such as understanding and predicting how changing world economic conditions affect market prices and production because of the globalized world and interconnectivity. You see that certain factors or shifts in the world economy has an effect or trickle down effect on market prices and production. You will note that when you talk about supply and demand analysis, you will basically come across the concept of evaluating the impact of government price controls, minimum wages, price supports, and production incentives. And the third one is determining how taxes, subsidies, tariffs, and import quotas affect consumers and producers. So when talking about evaluating the impact of government price controls, that means that measures price setting that or price floors that the government sort of implements to try and control price, the minimum wage regulations that the government sets in terms of the minimum wage of Republic Unions, price supports, and incentives to producers to produce a particular type of good and service. All right, the market mechanism is a system of the market in which forces of demand and supply determine the price and quantity of goods and services traded. The market mechanism relies on the individual and the market to fix market malfunctions. So remember the conditions about Adam Smith and the invisible end of the market. It's sort of where the forces of supply and demand sort of interfaces or interacts to basically determine the market mechanism and market functions of an economy. Right, the basic model of supply and demand is the workhorse of microeconomics. It helps us understand why prices change and what happens when government intervenes in a market. The supply and demand sort of combines two important concepts, and these are called a supply curve and a demand curve. It's important to understand precisely what these curves represent. All right, the supply curve. The supply curve shows the quantity of a good the producers are willing to sell at a given price. Supply curve, quantity of a good producers are willing to sell at a given price, holding constant any other factors that might affect the quantity of price supply. So ceteris paribus, that's the Latin phrase for it. That means that when you look at the slide 7.2 called supply curve, it shows you that the quantity of a good that producers are willing to sell at a given price. So if you look at the curve there, the curve level S in the figure illustrates this. The vertical axis of the graph shows the price of a good, so the vertical is the price going straight up, and the horizontal axis shows the quantity. Right, this is the price that sellers receive for a given quantity supply. So when you look at this good there, when you look at the supply curve, you note that at price 1, that's a higher price, suppliers are willing to sell at quantity 1. All right, but if the price sort of decreases, that means that the supply, if the price decreases from P1 to P2, that means that the quantity moves from Q1 to Q2. All right, so if the price was at Q1 and the supply price at P1, the supply would be at Q1. If the price moves to P2, you would note that the supply also goes to Q2. So in a simple graph there, you would also note that the supply curve shows the goods the person is willing to sell at a given price. Alright, if you go to the slide 8, you would note that the supply curve, the less in the figure, shows how the quantity of good offered for sale changes as the price of the good changes. The supply curve is upward sloping. The higher the price, the more the firms are willing to supply or produce or sell at that particular price. So if it's from price 1, they're willing to price 2, they're willing to sell at quantity 1, but if it goes up to price 1, they're willing to sell at more quantity. So lower price, they're willing to sell a minimum quantity, but when the price increases, the quantity increases. This is the basic sort of trait or characteristics that drives the production of goods and services by firms or suppliers. If they see that the price of a particular good has gone up, that means that they will try and increase the quantity. Because if the price of chicken, let's say it's 50 kina, it's 30 kina, and when it goes up to 50 kina, that means that a lot of suppliers would want to produce or look after chickens to sell, because they know that they're going to make a profit at the price of 50 kina. So that's what when we talk about the supply curve, it's always upward sloping. All right, so in your next sort of lessons, we are going to dive into some examples of the supply curve.